Welcome to episode 79 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe co-created by Bruce Timm. I'm Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And this week, we got a big ol' stinker.
Oh, yeah.
But it's paired with, I think, one of the best Batman episodes of all time.
It was good. It left a little bit to be desired.
How dare you?
I'm sorry.
You may see yourself out.
Okay.
I will do the rest of this playing both parts.
Oh, this is fun.
Okay.
I'm going to bed.
Let me see if I can deepen my voice a little bit to sound more like you. And
I have a deep voice?
I don't know. I feel like
I don't think I have a deep voice.
I feel like I put on a deeper voice.
I think we both do, for sure. It's our character. Our character is the exact same as us, except one octave down.
I feel like if my vocal range has a spectrum, it runs from podcast to I'm in a gay bar, and that's when it's at its highest.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't know what my highest would be.
Disneyland during the Electric Light Parade.
Paint the Night Parade.
Paint the Night Parade.
How dare you?
Wait, wasn't there an electric light? Wasn't that the...
There's the electrical... oh, God, what is it called? I only saw it once because it wasn't as exciting.
The old one that came back around.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it the electric...
It's the electric something... oh, my God.
The electric slide parade.
That's the one.
Yeah. They have about 100 people dressed up in various Disney costumes, tons of lights, floats, and they're all doing the electric slide in choreograph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Main Street Electrical Parade.
I was pretty damn close.
Yeah. We're both just tiptoeing around the right answer.
As we do on all things.
Right. We're always just a little right.
Something we'll actually get to at the end. Luckily, we now have friends that know so much more about this than us.
Oh, yeah. Huge shout out to Watchtower Database for showing exactly how little we know about the stuff we talk about.
Oh, my God.
I very appreciate to see like what real fans look like.
Because I listened to 12th Level Intellect, their podcast, but I'm weeks behind, sadly, because I don't have that much time to do anything anymore. And I was listening to one from a few weeks ago, and they were talking about maybe doing a different segment, maybe doing a thing where they would do what we do or what the DCAU review does, which is like go episode by episode. And as they were talking about this is right after they both James and Ted, and then also of course Maddie Washburn too, was like, oh, here's all the things you guys don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the best way possible. Thank you guys for
I just started following them on YouTube, and they put out a great video about where exactly Batman Beyond fits in the universe.
Okay, did you watch it? I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah,
okay, it's
really
up in
good.
my browser, and I went and got drunk instead today.
Oh, wow. Way to be a real fan.
It's Sunday. It was a nice day. I live a trolley ride away from West Hollywood. I had to get out of my apartment.
Mr. Hollywood over here.
You
know what I did all day? I worked all day.
You played kickball
I
all day,
worked on a
Cameron.
kickball field
You played kickball
all day for 4 hours in the grueling sun.
I mean,
You know what I got out of that? Nothing.
It got overcast at some point.
It did, thank
must have
God.
helped a little bit. Well, if it makes you feel any better, right when you were probably starting your third consecutive game, I was sitting down to have a delicious drink called the Waikiki at the new bar called Beaches
That sounds
in
amazing.
West Hollywood. Yeah, and they have like a $5 frozen drink happy hour at the time. Oh my God, man. It was a great time.
That sounds like fun. Sounds like a lot more fun than I had.
Yeah, you should just do that with me.
I should.
Instead. Well, kickball's over, right?
Kickball's over now, yeah.
All right.
We lost,
It's
over.
We'll go drink on Sundays instead.
Great.
I can't evening drink anymore. I can only day drink.
Mm-hmm.
The hangovers are not worth it. I like my sleep too much. But don't worry, I'm mostly sober now.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to handle this by myself. So what news do you have now that we're 5 minutes in of nonsense?
Oh, news other than that I finally went and had a social life today.
Yeah.
Other than that. Well, okay, this is news that I figured you would have brought along considering it's Disney. But we had some casting announcement for Mulan.
This is honestly news to me.
What?
I've been like living in a shelter all week.
I can't believe I'm about ready to tell you this.
Yes.
But Donnie Yen has been cast in the new Mulan movie.
Oh, my boy Donnie.
Yeah, so he's playing a character called Commander Tung. So not Li Shang.
Right.
Voiced by oh crap. He's also in Jurassic Park. How am I blanking on his name?
Jeff Goldblum.
Yes, Jeff Goldblum. Yes. Li Shang, famously played by Jeff Goldblum in the 1997 animated film. No, Donny Osmond did the singing voice. Oh my God, how am I blanking on this?
His name is B.D. Wong.
B.D. Wong. Oh my God, how did I forget about B.D. Wong? So yeah, so he voiced like the head of the military unit in the cartoon, but also it's shaping up to seem like the live action film will be a lot different than the cartoon. Another example being that Chinese actress Gong Li has been cast as the villain.
Oh, interesting.
A witch.
Okay.
So I guess we're not dealing with
The
the
Huns.
Huns. Or maybe we still are, but in a different capacity. There's a different villain involved. But also Jet Li is going to play the Emperor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, really great cast.
I haven't seen Jet Li in a while.
I know, I haven't either. I did think it was interesting. Like, you can see why they would cast him because he has that sort of brand recognition, and everyone across the whole world loves him. He seems a little young to play an emperor, because at least in the cartoon, the emperor was obviously much older.
I mean, there's makeup.
There's makeup, yeah, but I think they're maybe just going for different aesthetic.
And I think he's older than I think we remember him being. Because the last thing I remember him being in, besides Jet Li's Fearless,
he's probably in his 50s.
And besides
now?
the wonderful not Hidden Kingdom, what's the movie called? Forbidden Kingdom.
Oh, right.
Where the big like setup was we're finally going to get to see Jet Li and Jackie Chan fight, and they fought for a minute and it ended in a tie. It was very much the similar situation in like Fast and Furious where they had Vin Diesel and The Rock fight, and they're like they're both tough, they both win.
It's a draw.
It's a draw.
It's a draw.
Except The Rock won in the end because he's the one who's now handling the franchise.
Oh, actually, so along those lines,
is The Rock also in Mulan?
No, oh my God. Yeah, he's playing.
He's Mushu,
the leader of the Hun.
Yeah.
He's got the size for it. No, looks like David Leitch is going to direct the Fast and the Furious spinoff starring The Rock and Jason Statham.
Great.
So David Leitch, of course, being one of the directors of John Wick, the first one.
Great, thank you.
Also the director of Deadpool 2.
Cool.
Yes. And the director of Atomic Blonde.
Oh, I'm down.
So, I fucking hate that franchise. I hate that franchise.
I know, and I keep dragging you to it. You
drag me along, and I come along anyways because probably some part of me is a masochist and is all down for it. But David Leitch has basically yet to do wrong.
That's right.
So that's an interesting choice. In my mind, he's like the action film equivalent of Lord and Miller, where you bring him in to do something that on paper probably won't be that good, and he'll deliver something really good.
There was a great video essay I watched about Lord and Miller last night, which I should have put in my bat plugs, but I'm not going to. God. So I'll just talk about it now. But it was kind of the concept of the video was they bring great stories to franchises no one expects to work.
Yeah.
So they subvert expectations by only working with bad things.
Yeah. But I mean, it's true though.
Yeah.
I mean, you said Lord and Miller, not David Leitch, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they just have that clever way to do something different. It's like the Lego movie by all means should have been terrible and it was fantastic.
Right. If you compare it to what came before it, because kind of the other big toy movie that was before that was Battleships.
No, I never bothered with it.
It looked bad.
Horrible. But I mean, even like 21 and 22 Jump Street, I mean, they were the reasons that I was originally excited for Solo. Because like, these guys only, like, because on paper, that movie should not exist. It's a terrible idea, but they always do something different.
I know. It was kind of sad because the video came out before they had left Solo. And so, like, the end of the video is like the guy praising them. It's like, this is going to be one of the best movies we've ever seen because they know how to handle a bad hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. I don't want to break your heart, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, don't worry. It's now in Ron Howard's hands. And, he does
fine.
Good. He did good stuff.
He did Rush.
You know what? He did Rush. And lest we forget, he did Apollo 13.
Yeah.
Which is one of my all-time favorite films.
Is it? I didn't know that.
It absolutely is. Yeah. I remember seeing that when it came out in theaters because we went to the theater and we got this cool little, like, like they do like promotional, like, cups at the theaters. So it was a normal plastic cup, but it was like the latter half, like the back half of the orbiter, the Apollo orbiter, and then it had a like triangular cap on the top. So the whole cup was basically the shape of the Apollo orbiter.
That's cool.
Oh my god, it was really awesome. Also, I remember going to go see that movie because our dog had just died.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good. Way to bring the podcast right up.
That was like our way of like, oh, let's take the kids and go to a movie to distract them from the fact that Rusty's dead.
That's great.
But I still love that
Did
movie.
you know that they were going to blow up?
No, they didn't blow
No.
up.
Which movie am I thinking of?
Which movie are you thinking of? The astronauts blowing up?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Apollo 1 astronauts died in a simulation. Well, they were in the rocket, but basically, like, they got trapped inside the capsule and died.
No,
I mean,
what
that
was the
life.
real life event where
Oh, well, there's the Challenger in the Columbia.
I think I may be thinking the Challenger.
Yeah, there's a Challenger explosion.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. I've never seen Apollo 13.
I don't know where to put my hands. What?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I've heard.
It still really, really holds up.
I've heard.
Yeah. That's one of those movies that just, it comes on. It's like The Rock, but obviously a much better film. But like, it just comes on. I'm like, oh, I'm just
The
sitting down.
movie The Rock.
Yeah.
No,
You've never seen The Rock?
no.
What? Oh,
Never seen
Yogi.
Armageddon. Never
What is this
seen.
shit?
I wasn't into the space crises films growing up.
I guess that is a genre, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
So you've never seen Apollo 13?
No.
You've never seen Mission to Mars?
No.
Red Planet?
Nope.
Space Cowboys?
Nope. Are these all real movies?
These are all real movies.
Like you can just start making stuff up, and I'll disagree
I mean,
with
the
it.
last one, to be fair, sounds fake, but
Yeah.
it's not. No, that's Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, and one more old white guy, like Sam Shepard or something. I don't
Okay.
remember, but it's like, it's kind of like Armageddon. We're like, oh, we could easily use people who are trained to do this, but we're going to bring in these random guys instead
Yeah.
for X, Y, and Z reasons. And we're going to shoot them in a rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never saw Deep Impact. I think that's one of
I've
the
never
same.
seen Deep Impact. You haven't seen Armageddon?
Nope.
Did you see Lost in Space?
Nope.
Well, it's not great, but it's you know, it's
The
entertaining.
only like late 90s, early 2000s sci-fi films that I can think of that kind of fit this genre are I've seen Gattaca.
Okay.
Only because my biology teacher shows it to everyone in his class.
You know, we watched it in bio too.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's great. And I've seen Deep Horizon. Is that the one?
Event Horizon?
Event Horizon.
With Sam Neill?
Yeah.
You know, I've actually not seen that.
How did no? Don't. I only watched it because my roommate in college was like, "You have to watch this movie." Oh my god! And it was fine.
Like, do I
He was
actually
like
have to?
so pumped about this film.
You know, I've always heard really good things about it.
It's cool. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, one of my favorite podcasters, Chris Hewitt on the Empire Movie Podcast, is one of his favorite films. He's always talking about it. So I gotta listen to that at some point.
Yeah,
Not
I
listen
mean-
to it, watch it. I listen to him all the time.
My sci-fi knowledge was very bad, and it's still very bad. It was so bad to the point in my freshman year of college, my stepbrother Jamie sent me a box of DVDs. I was like, "These are the movies you have to watch."
And did you watch any of them?
It's not important.
Okay, so what were you watching instead of
Animated
watching
things, literally anything else.
anything other than the space crisis genre?
Yeah,
the
well,
late
like-
'90s, early 2000s space crisis genre.
Yeah, like he sent me like the Alien box.
Have you seen
box set.
Alien?
It's not important.
You haven't seen Alien?
No,
Have you seen Predator?
no,
Have you seen Terminator 2?
yes.
Okay.
The first half.
Oh.
He sent me those. He sent me Total Recall. He sent me Krull.
Okay,
Krull.
I haven't seen Total Recall. Cameron, I think this is the closest I've ever come to
Just, like,
genuinely
hitting
wanting
me.
to abandon the podcast. I live here. I'm about ready to get up and just walk out the door.
Well, I mean, last week we had the idea that like I always try and one up my nerddom, and I need to like bring that back down.
you have brought yourself way back down.
Yeah, so
Don't
then I
worry.
can jump that fence again.
You know, we started out talking about how we don't have this like the right kind of cred for the thing we talk about.
Yeah,
Now you've lost like just that many more listeners.
that's fine.
With your
because
lack of
we all know
seeing-
my forte is animation. I said that very weird.
With
but
with
animation. Animation.
Animation.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll bring it back to something then that you should, I'm assuming, know already and love.
I hope so.
The new Incredibles 2 trailer.
Yes, I did watch that.
Thank God I was about to slap you.
Yes, I could not avoid that. It wasn't until the trailer dropped that I realized how many Disney notifications I got throughout my day. because I got at least 3 emails.
Okay.
It was the only thing on my Instagram feed for like a good hour because everyone was posting about it.
Yeah.
It was the only thing on my Facebook for a bit. And then when I got on YouTube, it was like the 3 top videos. Like, you have to watch these next. And it was like the 3 sources that post the trailer. And I'm like, I guess I should watch this.
Yeah, you probably should.
Because I'm not escaping it.
I mean, it just keeps looking better and better.
I know.
I'm just so damn excited for that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've like stumbled through most of my major topics.
I mean, we're 25 minutes in. I guess we can start the episode now.
I mean, I think we're just trying so hard to delay having talked about Superman's pal.
Yeah,
which
this should have been a 5-minute episode.
So I remember seeing this episode, and I realized that I knew I remembered seeing it because as soon as we met the intern, what was her name?
I don't know.
Trish?
Sure.
Tina?
Sure.
Tina? Tanya?
Sure.
Tara.
Well, nope, not Tara. You don't get to besmirch the name Tara in front of me.
So when we first meet the intern, she's like jangling, and she's like, "Oh, I like metal." I'm like, "Oh, I vaguely recall her having some sort of weird, fucked up relationship with Metallo."
Here's my question for our viewers. What's the one thing, the biggest thing we haven't talked about in Superman lore yet?
Cybernetic sex?
No.
Oh.
Obviously, Jimmy's watch. So how about we give an entire episode to how Jimmy gets his watch?
Well, hang on. I will play slight devil's advocate on this. Because that is actually a staple of the comics.
I know it is.
That he has his signal watch. Mm-hmm. Jimmy actually had a whole run of comics called Jimmy Olsen, Superman's Pal, or Superman's Pal, Jimmy Olsen, whatever the fuck it was called. Like, that was all like the crazy stories in the 50s and 60s, where like Jimmy Olsen becomes a crocodile boy sort of thing. So there's a history of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
That being said,
I get it. I understand the watch is very important. That's why they gave a whole episode to why he got it.
Yeah. Look, okay, you know what? Hang on. There were things I liked about this.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that when the police chase was going on outside, and Superman goes to stop the chase, that a whole bunch of things kept happening. Speak for me. He kept having to go.
I'm waiting.
A bunch of things continued to happen in a linear, timely fashion, such that he would have to go from one crisis to another.
It was almost like there was an infinite crisis.
But I liked that he had to go from saving the car to keeping the bridge up. Saving the helicopter, keeping the bridge up. I mean, because that's what happens to Superman, right? Is that it's always something else. He's constantly running around and having to do something different. So
I feel like I could just see him rolling his eyes through this whole scenario.
Yeah. You could actually probably hear them.
Yeah.
Because you got
At least
power eyes.
The only thing that I noticed from that scene that brought me a little joy that, the citizens aren't completely stupid is when Superman was trying to save the bridge, people actually ran off the bridge.
This is true.
Which is like the first time ever.
Yeah.
There was no baby strollers left. There was no people just like screaming, standing there.
See, there you go. There wasn't a baby stroller sitting underneath the collapsing bridge.
Yeah, they're learning. The citizens are learning.
Let's give them some credit.
Unlike the Gotham citizens.
Yeah. So I liked that. I liked that when Angela Chen basically edits around Jimmy's verbal fumbling to make it seem like he's really close to Superman, she references a whole bunch of episodes we've seen before. It's like, oh, you saved him from Lightner, which is not technically true, but like he also saved him from Parasite, which was true.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and you infiltrated Intergang's connection with the Darkseid invasion, which is not on Superman's behalf, but it was true. So like, I liked they brought in some of those callbacks.
Yeah.
Into that. Every once in a while it's fun to see that idea that there's a broader continuity going on here. I did not love, but nonetheless still kind of enjoyed the 90s montage that we got of him just like running around Metropolis and everyone like, oh my God, it's Superman's pal. Bring him to dinner next time.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, there were 2 montages. There was back-to-back montages.
There was a second one?
Well, the first one was, I guess it wasn't a montage. The first one was when like everyone is bugging him or is like messing with him about his friendship. And then the montage is everyone like asking him to talk to Superman for them.
See, Cameron, I expect you to come prepared to know what's a montage and what's not a montage.
I know there's a whole song about
on this
it.
podcast. You know,
I've heard
I
the song.
rely on your ability to differentiate montage from non-montage.
Yes.
in this conversation,
we're gonna have a montage, a motherfucking montage. I know the song.
Even Rocky had a montage.
It did the montage.
Yeah, he's like the king of montages.
Yeah.
You could make a montage out of Rocky montages.
It's true.
Yeah.
A Rocky montage.
Someone must have done that already.
I'm sure.
Okay, so total tip.
I'm sure someone's made a montage of every montage.
A montage?
Yeah.
I have a question for you. How does Metallo keep getting some of his face back?
I mean, my question is, where does he keep getting kryptonite? But that's a much better question, is where does he keep getting half a face?
Where was he last time we saw him?
I think last time...
Steel, right? I feel like the last time we saw him was the Steel episode?
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah. How did that end?
I don't remember.
Steel beat him up in the street, and then
They didn't melt him. They didn't... I don't remember. Because I remember the volcano ending. Was he
that was a
underwater?
long time ago.
Did they drown him?
Okay, so the first episode he ends up out in the ocean, he's walking. And then the second episode, I think, is him showing up on the island with amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, wait. Is that when he got buried in the volcano? Or did he get
Yeah.
Then he gets buried in the volcano, and then we never figured out how he got out of there. And then I feel like the next time he showed up was Steel. And then this. So I don't know where he was in the interim, but wherever he was, they were kind enough to give him a fraction of his face back.
Right.
But I guess he needed like some bit of human thing to get Tanya,
Trish.
to get fake Daily Planet intern with an ambiguous T name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was...
to fall in love with him. It's
a bad episode.
Which is weird. That's weird.
It's
so weird.
We'll go on one more quick tangent because we're only 35 minutes into this episode. I don't think I brought it up on the podcast yet, but I've been trying to hunt for a show that a non-children's show. I have to clarify because my friend was very dumb with me last night. Trying to find a show that shows a positive male-female platonic friendship from beginning to end.
Okay.
And outside of ensemble shows, so
Yeah.
outside of your Friends, Cheers, How I Met Your Mother's, etc., I couldn't find a good example. I couldn't find a good American example.
I mean,
the biggest show I could think of is Doctor Who. They're pretty good about there was a few seasons.
So yeah. Oh my God, how am I? Billy Piper's character. They had kind of a flirting thing going back and forth, but never.
Was that the 10th Doctor?
That was. Yes, 10th
Sure.
was Eccleston, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was 10th and 11th Doctors. They both kind of have a flirty thing, but that never really happened.
Mm-hmm.
Although technically, Billy Piper got left in an alternate dimension with a clone version of the Doctor that would age.
Okay.
So that was kind of a thing. And then when Matt Smith came on board, he and
Rose?
no,
Okay.
Amy Pond, aka Karen Gillan.
Right. That
They had a flirting thing going back and forth, but she was engaged.
Okay.
But they like came close, but then she ended up staying with her fiance.
Okay.
So then by the time they left the show, those two were together. She wasn't with the Doctor. And then they never had anything with Donna. I'm trying to think of how this all panned out. Oh, and then yeah, even Matt Smith and Clara were flirty, but they never actually happened. And then everything romantic ever came out of that. And then of course, once it came over to Tennant. So I guess that's the closest. But there's that element though. There are times when they get to a little bit of that flirtatious will they won't they sort of thing.
Okay.
I mean, the only things I can think of are like Difficult People, for example. That's because like the male lead is gay and the female lead is straight, and so they don't have any sort of relationship. Even Will and Grace, technically, they dated back in the day, and then they broke up. Mm-hmm. But I think that still counts. But unless one of them's gay, I can't think of one.
Right, and that's a big problem.
It's a huge problem. Well, because it just encourages the idea that men and women can't.
Exactly. That was the whole. That was like the whole idea of me trying to find these shows, because especially in like young, not like kids, but like the 8 to 16 demographic, I can't think of a single show where at least two of the characters don't end up dating at the end. Like if you go through all of the Nick, even in Kids Next Door, where like there was no, like they're just spies. In the first 2 seasons, they're great at just being spies. And then like season 3 and 4, they start to push the like, oh, well, number 3 and number 4 are obviously together. Number 5 and number 2 are obviously together. Hoagie and Abigail and Cookie and son of a bitch, what's your name? Not Nigel. That's number 1.
I can't
2,
help you.
3.
If I could, I wouldn't.
I don't.
It's too much fun to watch you struggle.
I don't remember number 4's name, and I'm going to hate myself for the rest of the day for that. Like
that's what you should hate yourself for.
Yes, like they pushed the relationship. Like obviously Kim Possible.
Yeah, Ron and Kim
was the big relationship. It was the big one for me. But then going to like the live action stuff, like the end of Lizzie McGuire, Lizzie and Gordo get together. The end of Even Stevens, all 3 of them are in relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Both the Stevens twins get together.
I hate you. Like I couldn't think of a single show where an American show.
Yeah,
because I feel like the examples I've heard have all been British shows.
Yeah.
And watching my daily dose of anime this morning, I realized how much worse it is in Japanese culture.
Oh, really?
Where, like, it's not just one guy and one girl. Like, guys have harems, and there's whole shows about, like, choosing the best girl of your harem. And, like, even like, the anime fans around that, there's, like, a whole subculture of, like, trying to find your waifu and who is...
Sorry, what's a waifu?
I gotta keep climbing that nerd mountain, Chris.
What is a waifu?
Best waifu is, it's the idea that you find a female character in an anime that you like that has the traits of like the ideal wife you want. And so there's whole like, just keep your mouth closed for a second, because there's whole like forums of people arguing of who is the best waifu between shows.
Wait. Like, who's the best objective waifu? Because wouldn't it really matter, like, who's the best wife? I mean, oh my God, I can't believe I'm about ready to say this. Fuck. But
Welcome to my world.
When you're picking a fictional animated character to be your pretend wife, wouldn't you find the one who best fits you and not just the best, like, broad objective one?
Yes. But clearly the one that I pick is better than the one that you pick.
Well, obviously you're going to pick
Obviously.
I mean, Cameron, to be fair, you're obviously going to pick a much better wife than I will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you know what I was trying to go for. It's like internet culture is you have your opinion, but it doesn't match my opinion, so you're wrong.
So you're wrong.
Yeah. So there's whole like there's a not my anime list. There's some anime site that has like full like NCAA style brackets, like March Madness style brackets of like the best waifus of anime. No. Yeah. Welcome to the subculture.
I don't want to know. I don't want to be a part of the subculture. I don't know it exists.
It's bad. And like it really shows how much worse. I mean, at least in the anime that I've seen, I'm sure there are anime that handle it. That's not. I'm such a bad anime fan compared to like my friends that are like actually devoted to that culture.
Hopelessly devoted.
Yeah. They have their waifu pillows. I mean, I think that's where the whole joke stemmed from. Is in Japan you can actually buy body pillows.
Yeah, I know.
With specific anime characters' faces on it.
I'm aware.
And so I think that was kind of the first step that emerged the best waifu competition.
So, how many years off do you think we are from VR waifu sex robots?
Oh, robots, maybe like full robots, or just sex toys? Because we already have those.
I'm thinking like I'm thinking like the interim space is going to be like those, because we basically have robots now that are very, very close to human accuracy. Mm-hmm. There's like the whole thing about like people designing these robots, not even robots, but these like dolls to look like real people. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking basically like a doll that is designed to look like maybe some of these characters with a disturbing amount of realistic feel.
Oh, probably in the next 5 years.
And then you like wear VR goggles and like it talks and interacts with you, and then you have sex with it?
Probably the next 5 years. I mean, outside of the physical side of that already exists. Yeah. Yeah, it's to the point. There was a very fascinating product that came out a few years ago. It was for men who live by themselves. I promise we'll get back on topic at some point with
No,
this.
I got all excited. My aunt just texted me that she's having Vespers with my cousin. They had to like text me because it was a Vesper. I was so happy about it. To put a tangent on a tangent.
That's fine.
Let me go grab a couple hats to stack on top of each other.
There was a product that came out a few years ago that was basically a computer wife that you could have in your home, and it was basically like the Echo, or any of those products.
Yeah, or this sounds like Joy from Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So they live inside this egg thing, and you can text it, and they'll text you during the day to make you feel like you have a companion, and then when you're on your way home, they'll like set the house up for you. So like they'll turn the thermostat to what you want it to be. They'll turn the lights on. So you come home. They'll like turn the oven on if you leave food in. Like the whole house is automated to this product. So when you come home, like you have someone that'll greet you virtually. Yeah, that's the culture right now. And that's crazy. And that's not even VR. Like VR gets so much worse. Have you ever seen dating sim games?
What?
There's a whole subgenre of video game called that are just dating simulators. Most of them come from Japan, and they're awful.
Wait, like so you go on fake dates?
Yes, it's basically a.
Is there like an RPG? Do you like level up?
No.
Are there Easter eggs?
No. It's
are there little Riddler trophies stashed throughout the restaurant?
It's basically like, okay, we're on 10 minutes at this point. It's basically
all staying in.
Yeah, it better be. I'm very passionate about this stuff.
But you're passionate in your fascination and disgust for it.
Yes,
which makes it that much better.
They're text adventure games that are just revolved around dates. Like so,
it's like choose your own adventure via text, but dating.
Yes. So
I keep throwing these things out like it's a joke, and then you keep coming back with it being true.
Yes.
And I keep getting sadder on the inside.
So the most recent one that I'd seen, because I watch a lot of people play video games online, because I'm a millennial and that's what I do with my time, there's one called Doki Doki Literature Club. Where you play a high schooler who stumbles upon basically like a library club where the only other members are these 4 girls, and you're trying to like date one of them.
Oh,
and you can choose which one. You can talk to them, and you have like all these text options, and then whatever you say will and then it's basically just like a generic Sims game after that.
Yeah.
Of like the more you talk to them, the more right things you say to them, the more they are attracted to you. And it just gets down a darker hole after that.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. It's going to my plug, Story Dory Literature Club. It's not. No one ever go play that game ever. Save your time. Save your money. Because that's the thing. People pay for these. Aren't free games, Chris. People pay for these.
They probably pay a lot.
Yeah.
And they're probably like microtransaction sort of games too. You're probably just like constantly.
I don't think so.
Are they just like upfront costs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! All I can say is, Cameron, you have made me feel better by the fact that I have Grindr on my phone. Like you have made me now realize that my life is somehow slightly more grounded in reality.
Yeah. We're moving in a weird direction, Chris.
Oh no.
Okay. So back on topic.
I mean, let's be honest. This was way more fun than talking about Superman's PAL. Which honestly, I have nothing else to say about this.
I do want to pose the question of, so this whole episode was a reason to give him the watch.
Yes.
How can we make that story better? If you just keep that segment, how can we make this because this is a 5-minute episode. This does not need to be a full 23 minutes.
I think you do this. Did you ever watch Buffy?
Some of it.
So there was an episode, I want to say it's called like Zappa or something like that. Forgive me if I'm getting this all wrong. but it's basically an episode with Xander where it focuses on him and like his random side tangent mission to try and save everything, and no one else is taking what he's doing seriously because they're off like fighting some big demon thing.
Okay.
But it's basically, I think I want to say Zappo. I'm probably wrong, but it's like a friend of the Marx Brothers of like kind of like the forgotten character off to the side. So it's the idea that you take the B or C plot of a normal episode and you make it the A plot and you reverse those things. If they'd done something like that,
Yeah. We've seen that in a couple Batman episodes, and they're always
we
done
have
very well.
And I think that it makes them interesting. Like we've talked about this before, where when you, even with, especially with Superman, sometimes too, he's more interesting. Sometimes it's kind of the background character when you focus on somebody else. I think if they had done that, if they had made Jimmy trying to maybe not make it a superpowered villain, but Jimmy trying to do something, and getting put into a pinch, and like needing Superman's help and not being able to get a hold of Superman because he's off fighting like Metallo somewhere else in the city. He has to figure it out under his like own resolve. And then at the end, he like somehow bumps into Superman. Like Superman shows up at like the last minute after Jimmy has solved the problem, whatever it is, like a mobster going crazy or something like that. And then Superman's like, oh, like, you know, hey, I don't want this to ever happen again. And then he comes back like, okay, I made you this watch. So if you ever get in trouble again, you can call me and I can be there to help. But I think, you know, I don't think you'll need it. You seem to have this under your control yourself. I think that would have done it. Like,
Yeah.
make it, take a B storyline, make an A storyline, have something else going on in the background, give it Jimmy a chance to like prove that he's capable of doing something impressive when he doesn't have the help that he's usually used to seeking. Don't make it about him saving Superman, make it about him having to figure out what to do when Superman's not around.
Yeah.
You do that.
That sounds great. That's kind of the idea that I had.
Yeah.
Because it's basically the same story that we want from Lois that we never get.
Right.
Is I want to see him as a photographer.
Yeah.
Of like, Lois will get the scoop, Clark will fly off and go handle the situation, and then you're just left with Jimmy being like, I got to get on the scene. I need to be the first. I need to like get the shot.
Yeah.
And so him like putting himself in these dangerous situations to get the best photo.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Like,
Yeah.
there was like a portmanteau sort of thing. A series of vignettes of him like going from thing to thing, and Superman's never around. And
Yeah.
so he's like doing his job while also being helpful. Yeah, I would have loved that.
Yeah.
Would have been way better.
I know.
Well-
Anything would have been better.
Everything would have been better. Okay,
Let's talk about the good episode.
all right. The good episode, Old Wounds.
I love that we said that was going to be our quick thing.
I know.
To be fair, I did a wonderfully left and right tangent about.
Oh, but it was so fantastic.
Everything-
But yeah,
everything
so
under the sun.
I was very excited for this episode. Loved watching it again. But this is Old Wounds. This fills in kind of the critical piece of history that bridges Batman animated series with the new Batman Adventures, explaining why Dick stopped being Robin. Not necessarily why he became Nightwing, but at least why he stopped becoming Robin.
Yeah.
Also fills in why or how, more accurately, Batgirl got actually connected directly into the Bat family. How she went from being an outsider into right in the midst of it.
Right.
I remember this as being one of my favorite episodes. How did you feel about it?
I loved it. It was a great story. It was fun. I think I just wanted another reason for why Dick quit.
You didn't think this was enough?
I mean, I get it. I would have liked to see more of the manipulation side. Like, obviously, we get that a lot in a lot of Batman stories, but like, I would have loved for, because I think that was the big turning point. Is like Barbara joined him because he thinks that he thinks Batman's manipulating her into being there.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to just like see a hint of that somewhere else in the episode. But I did love the like Batman interrogating the guy in front of his family. It was like way across the line.
It's a pretty intense scene, actually.
Yeah.
With the little kid in the space helmet crying as his dad's getting attacked by Batman.
Right. And it's like you can clearly see where Dick draws the line and where Batman draws the line. And it's like that clearly oh my god. Clearly will make a rift in their friendship and their partnership.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I wanted another reason, just like one more thing that kind of brought that and the manipulation thing together of why Dick left.
Well, because what's interesting about this is right from the beginning, we see that Dick gets really pissed off if anyone says he's just like Batman. Because Timm asks him, what happened with you guys? He just says, things change. Once you ask the other guy, once you ask the big guy, he's like, well, guess what he said?
Things change.
Things change, which is fantastic because, it's impossible for Dick to not have had, drawn a lot from Bruce and from Batman, but he never wants to be that guy.
Right.
He never wants to be that obsessive and that, frankly, sad. And I was going to ask you a question. I've completely forgot what it was. God damn it. I don't know. Say something else.
Yeah, so it's a flashback episode.
Yeah.
And it starts off with Dick's graduation.
Yes.
Which, question.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't he supposed to graduate with Barbara? Weren't they in the same class?
I think they'd be like one class apart or so.
Okay.
Okay. I realized what my question was.
Okay.
So, because I think, I think what we learn here is that Dick's greatest fear is, at the end of the day, becoming Bruce.
Yes.
Now, what I think is interesting is, do you think what do you think is like Batman's then in turn greatest fear? Is it losing somebody again? Or do you think he no longer has a greatest fear because that was already came true at one point? Or do you think his greatest fear would be, in fact, losing someone else he loves, like losing Dick or Barbara?
I think his biggest fear is physically losing them, but I think he also knows Dick well enough where like him quitting isn't him. Like I think Batman is still watching over Nightwing constantly. If Nightwing, I'm sure Nightwing knows about some of it, but like I feel like Bruce is always keeping an eye on him.
Yeah,
and it does come back to the topic we had last week of like how does Dick have his money?
Oh yeah, you were right.
Yeah, it is his parents' trust fund. But I'm sure like Batman still, I'm sure Bruce still has a hand in like how much money he got out of that, and like I'm sure he's keeping him well off.
See,
even if Dick doesn't know,
I think he is probably keeping an eye on him, or like he's probably aware of where Dick is in the intervening years.
Yeah,
I think he knows to not be involved at all. I think this is one point where Bruce, his obsessive behavior actually gets outweighed by his understanding of what Dick needs to do for himself to become his own person.
Yeah, because I feel like this is also what Bruce did before he went on his training. Like he distanced himself from Alfred.
Yeah,
and from
Alfred,
other friends,
and from his parents' tombstone.
Hush was a friend
from Tommy Elliott.
Yep, there you go. He was a friend.
Wait, have you read Hush?
I read Hush Returns.
Fuck me. I'm gonna send you a box of comic books.
I'll put them on my shelf.
You'll never read. Have you read DC New Frontier yet?
Stop asking me. You will know.
But I told you last week though that it's like all about Green Lantern.
Long week, Chris. You will know. I promise you. When I finish reading that book, you will know because I will not stop talking about it.
No, it's your.
The same. It was the same when I read Red Sun.
You'll be visiting me on my deathbed and be like, "Guess what, Chris? I read the first 1/3 of New Frontier."
Chris, I know you really wanted me to read the book, but I watched the movie and I think I got the same points out of it.
And I'll just like feebly try and like raise my hand to slap you, and I won't have the strength, and it'll just
Yep.
fall down.
That's how you. That's your last.
That's how
moment.
I die.
Yep.
You're gonna kill me.
That's fine.
My heart will break. I'll be so disappointed in you.
It'll be like episode 700 of this.
Oh God.
Yep.
Or it might still be this episode at that point.
At this point, it might be.
But yeah, I don't know. I like that we got to see the consequence of that relationship, because we talked about it a lot, that all the way through the animated series there was a lot of conflict between Bruce and
You
Dick.
could feel the tension building.
You could feel the tension building, and I feel like I can see what you mean about you wanting maybe like one more reason why he quit in this. I think it very much depends on knowing that history and being able to pull from those moments from previous seasons.
Even if they just mentioned that stuff.
Yeah.
like if in their fight, like in their yelling match, Robin or Nightwing said like you haven't treated me any different since I tried to hunt down what's his face,
Zuko.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've been treating me like a kid since I was. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it was just like that one-off line, like that would have sold it for me, just like a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. And what's interesting is we'll talk about it, I think, at the end of this, but I've mentioned before the Lost Years comic, which I have sitting right here, which I reread right before this episode.
Good for you.
Because I can read.
I can read?
Well, the real challenge with comics,
How
Cameron,
dare you? I used to read manga every day.
The real challenge with
I
comic
can read
books,
forward and backwards.
You know, the problem with comic books is you can't listen to them on an audiobook because they're a half visual medium.
That's fine. As long as there's pictures, I get it.
But in that comic, I
bet I could tell you more steps of the comic process than you know.
There's a script, and then there's the penciler, and then
I mean, sure. There's some in between there, but sure.
So what's the bit in between?
Keep going.
And then it's colorized. It's colored, and then there's the inker.
Yep.
And then it's published, and then eventually the individual issues are collected as a trade, and then eventually years later they're collected as a thicker trade, and sometimes they're famous enough they're collected in like special edition hardback versions, and sometimes those hardback versions are like massive absolute edition ones that are like massive weighty tomes you have a hard time placing on your bookshelf because it is taller than all the comics around it, and so you can't put it in either alphabetically or chronologically, depending on how you organize your comic books.
Exactly. And then
they make a motion comic.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. And then they make a movie.
And then they make a prequel comic about the adapted comic book that is now a movie.
Yep. And then
they make a sequel to the movie.
Then they make a podcast.
I factored the whole comic book cycle.
Yeah. You missed like storyboard artist and layout designer.
Okay.
Are kind of the only other two.
Okay.
In the pre-process.
All right. Well,
those are the ones that set up because you have the script writer and then the storyboarder kind of work hand in hand, and then the storyboard artist sends it to the layout artist who actually like draws in the rough characters and puts where the bubbles are going to be.
Oh, okay.
And then you have the type designer.
Is there a bubbler? Is that a job?
That's the type designer, yeah. They're the ones that actually write the
No,
words.
I meant like drew the bubbles. Their job is just to draw bubbles.
No, I wish.
That'd be a great job.
It would be.
It'd be a terrible job, actually.
You see all this beautiful artwork and you're just like, I'm going to cover this much up with a bubble.
All right, so...
we're almost done, I promise.
We're almost there. What did you think about... how Barbara got brought into the fold, how that whole dynamic played out.
Would have loved to know what was going through her head when Bruce is like, I have something to show you.
Oh, God,
and brings her down to this dungeon.
Come to my basement, Barbara.
Yeah. I want to know what was going through her head at that point of like, is this some like BDSM shit that you have with Dick? Is that why he's been so distant? It's like, did you hurt him?
Bruce, did you not have aftercare after your guys' crazy sessions?
Yeah, because like clearly she doesn't know that he's Batman. So what does she think is down there?
Yeah.
Did he freeze Dick?
It's just Alfred in a ball gag.
Yeah,
hanging out in the cave.
Yeah, I mean it was. I understood Batman's side of it. It's like Dick couldn't tell Bruce's secret, and Bruce knew Dick wouldn't reveal his secret.
Yeah.
And so Bruce did the kind thing and like, I will tell you for him because I know he will not betray me in that way.
Yeah. And I liked.
And then Alfred's response is that scene I saw before any other BTOS or any other part of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Was that GIF popped up on my Tumblr when I first made a Tumblr back in 2010. That was like the first piece of content I ever saw.
What was your Tumblr called?
Back then it was the Nerdy Doodler.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. It got more sane after that. It was because my high school girlfriend made me make one.
Okay.
And so it was sane-er.
Whatever you can do to seem cool, right?
Sure. I gave up on cool, like, I think, when I started to walk. Like, when they started talking, I'm like, this cool stuff isn't for me.
When you were crawling, you're like the coolest baby around.
Oh,
yeah. You're like the Saturday Night Fever of babies, just strutting down the street.
Well, my mom used to tell me that I could only walk when I was holding a specific basketball.
Really?
So I think like I was a sports kid at one point.
Did you dribble the ball?
Probably. I mean, not when I was like learning to walk, but yeah.
So just traveling with that?
Yeah.
God,
that's the only thing that could make me walk.
You cheater.
Yeah. It was like one of the small Playmate sets.
Oh, okay.
And it came into the set of 3 colored balls, and I could only walk with one color.
Which color?
I don't remember. Probably green.
Well, this story is pointless now, isn't it?
Isn't it? All of these stories are pointless.
So, but I do.
How did we get there?
How do we get anywhere?
Why am I here? I could be in bed right now.
Seriously though,
it's for the fans.
For the fans, it's what we do it for. All 50 of you.
We appreciate it.
So, but no, okay. I like
Crystal, Mark, John, Amy, Brad.
Oh, good old Brad. Love Brad.
John Biev. Oscar. Juliet.
There we go.
I don't know. I'm trying.
I do. So yeah, I love when Bruce kind of brings her in because you can tell he doesn't know quite what to do in the situation too. And so, and I think we've talked about before that what this universe generally does best is its moments. Like a lot of these episodes are made off of moments, and there are bad episodes with good moments. But what makes the great episodes is when those moments are obviously tied together with like a really solid through line. I think an emotional one too. I think that really does it here. But there are some things that this does that are so great. I love that they have the Joker in here.
Yeah,
because I think you get some of his best lines. I'm thinking of when they're up at the top of the tower and the hyenas go to attack Batman and he knocks them off. And Joker's like, hey, I don't hit your kids.
Yeah.
No, actually, I do. It's a fantastic line. One of the coolest moments in maybe all of the DCAU is when Barbara gets knocked off the tower and Robin pulls up on the motorcycle and uses the ejector seat to fly up high enough to like get to her level and then grab her and grapple away.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think my favorite moment of this episode is the punch at the very end.
I mean, a deserved punch in a lot of ways. And I think only Dick could punch Batman like that. I think he's the only person that could get away with doing that. And
maybe Alfred. It'd be more like a glove slap.
Alfred is far more passive.
Yeah,
he would.
He uses his words.
He would just like put a little bit too much salt in his vichyssoise.
Oh, he would just like he'd just play either the guilt game or like, oh Bruce, that's a good decision.
Yes,
I don't think your parents would like it.
Oh man, harsh.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Alfred just pulls the parent card all the time.
I think what he does actually is I think he comes up with a lot of really good like parent themed zingers.
Yeah,
and he knows that Bruce can't handle it. He'll just like break down, and start crying in the Batcave.
Yeah,
and it just echoes. It's too loud. So then Alfred will like hold his tongue and he'll slink away and he keeps a little diary of all of his dead parent related jokes.
Oh, amazing!
And he just jots it down there. He gives it a little glance. Has a nice little chortle. Closes it up. Puts in his nightstand.
Yeah.
Goes right back to work.
Yeah.
But what the fuck are we talking
Good
about?
for Alfred. Favorite moments. Punching.
Yes.
Yeah.
The punch. Like I mean, this is not for me the emotional highs of like Robin's Reckoning or Over the Edge, but still pretty high. And I think part of the reason is, it's the nature of the episode is it's a downer. It's really sad. It's like, how do these two people who meant so much together drift so far apart? And you can see where Batman is grappling with when he should have a heart and when he shouldn't.
Right.
Because the nature of what he does, he has to be kind of heartless sometimes. Like, he needs to find the Joker. The stakes are high. He's got the radar jam or whatever. he's got to interrogate this guy,
which, to be fair, is probably like the weakest of the Joker plots.
it's pretty weak. But the fact that it's very like B level,
Like
it's
no
a
one's
very-
getting
it's a-
hurt in this plot.
Well, I mean, there's no active threat.
Yeah.
But there's a very huge passive threat.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
We get that glimpse of an airplane flying through. You know, there are stakes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, $40 million to not let airplanes land.
Well,
seems a
I mean,
bit
but it's
high.
not just they can't land; it's that they have no radar at all, so they could easily crash into each other, crash into a building. Yeah. It's like the plot of Die Hard 2,
Got it.
sort of. Probably haven't seen Die Hard 2.
Not.
Die Hard 2, Die Harder. But you know,
Dire harder.
what?
You said dire harder.
No. That's the movie about when you have to like dye T-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you have to like.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
Oh, of course you have.
Yeah.
So, but the nature of it is very sad. These two people kind of drifting apart, and in a very cataclysmic way too. And I think that like that punch really, it's a distinct moment that has to be there at the end. It's a very final moment between the two of them. But what I love is that the epilogue that comes after that, it's a little convenient.
Yeah.
But when Nightwing looks at the ID of the guy that he and Timm say like that broke up the muggers, he realizes it's the ID of the crook, the gangster who Batman was interrogating in front of his family, and Bruce set him up at Wayne Enterprises and gave him a job and stops by and talks to him, asks him about his kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a moment where we're reminded that Bruce does have a heart. And it's interesting too because I think we talk a lot in general about the nature of Batman as a character across all mediums is that like his true self is Batman, and that Bruce Wayne as a facade. And I think one of the values of being with a Bruce that has existed for a longer time, we spent more time with, is we get moments like this where we realize, well, there's actually this weird middle space where Bruce does things as Bruce to try and make the world a more positive place. You know, he's trying to prevent bad things from happening at Batman, but as Bruce, he actually actively tries to make good things happen.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
people.
I feel like we see that all the time.
And I think we see that a lot in this show. I don't know if we get that. We don't get the same kind of chance to see that in the
movies,
like the movies,
yeah.
for example, or obviously we do it like sometimes in the comics. But here we like him giving like he did the same thing for the ventriloquist. He gave him a job. Like he really does try to make an effort.
For who?
For the ventriloquist.
Okay, yeah. That was the example I was going to bring up.
Yeah, and so I really like that we had that moment, and like that's a really nice emotional moment because it's and the final shot too of Nightwing joining Robin to head towards the bat signal. That's basically his way of forgiving Bruce and coming to terms with them separating, what was a really necessary step.
Right. There's also a very small moment in the episode dealing with the interrogation, where Joker makes a joke of like, "Don't you guys ever use doors?"
Oh yeah,
And then in the interrogation scene, Robin uses the door to try and talk to the goon. And as he does that, Batman breaks through the window.
Through the window.
And I'm like,
I didn't even catch
that's
that.
the biggest
so
character
good.
moment I could see.
that he uses door.
Yeah.
No, I really love this storyline in general. I love the little pieces that it fills in. And so the last year's comic, what it kind of adds in there is it is basically this plot at its core.
Okay.
But drawn out a little bit. So there's a little bit of and what's kind of cool here, you can take a look at it. It's worth giving a gander. What's kind of cool is that the flashback sequences are animated in the style of BTOS.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and so like it opens with Batman and Robin waiting in the sewers to try and capture some goons. And to your point about there maybe not being quite enough setup as to justify why Dick leaves, in the comic, when they're down there, Batman's just basically being critical, non-stop critical. And then Batgirl jumps in to help, and he's very complimentary of her, and he gives her a piece of advice, like, hey, when you go to move right, you leave your left side open. And then we also see in the comic how Bruce discovers that Barbara is Batgirl, because then she's at Wayne Manor playing tennis with Dick, and she whoops him, and then Bruce steps in like, oh, I think I can do better, and he beats her like just squarely. And he makes a comment of like, oh, yeah, well, I was paying attention to what you do. And when you go right, you leave your left side open. She's like, oh, you're not the first person to tell me that. And he's got this ponderous look like, oh, interesting. So it sets up how he knows who she is.
Yeah.
So I think like that, it adds a little bit of room, like a little bit of story beforehand, and then it cuts out some of the pretty important scenes. Like it cuts out the scene where Dick shows up at her apartment and it's all flustered, and it just jumps to her at the Batcave when she gets taken down there and introduced to the world, into everything the Batman has. But when they're up at the tower, one of the cool moments too is that a brief glimpse of actually Timm on a rooftop across the way, watching this going on through binoculars. And so then this comic then also basically retells the story of Sins of the Father. So then it adds in him up on the rooftop watching that all go down, and when the machine explodes, it launches a batarang across the roof, and he collects it. That's why he has a batarang.
Okay.
In the beginning of the episode. And one of the other really cool things it does, it actually shows some time with Timm and his dad, and how Timm really wants to be like Batman. He's got like cardboard boxes with the villains like faces on them. He's for the Batarang, and one of them is Two-Face. Obviously, Timm's dad works for Two-Face. It's like, hey, you got to respect him. He puts food on your table.
Yeah.
And Timm gets basically in his dad's face. It's like, you should be more like Batman, not like Two-Face. Like, you should do something good for the world and not just be another crook. And that then sets up why Timm's dad betrays Two-Face. He actually gets inspired by Timm to try and do something right, and it costs him, and like he makes a huge mistake and he has to flee. But it makes him less of a deadbeat and actually gives him like a bit of a heroic moment before he goes off and dies.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's cool because it sort of takes those stories and shows them from a slightly different angle and adds a little different context. And then on top of that, it also shows what Dick was up to when he was gone. So he's gone for like 2.5, 3 years roughly, which is, I think, roughly basically considered the time frame between BTOS and this.
Does it go into his mullet making decisions?
It shows him slowly getting his hair grow longer until he has a mullet.
Okay.
Sadly, it does not have a scene of him standing in front of the mirror going, you know what? You know what's cool?
Mullets.
Mullets.
At the very beginning of the episode, the goon that gets away also has a mullet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I really wanted like Dick to just like hair whip him. Or like pull him down from his ponytail.
Actually, no, he'd be like, you know what? I was going to catch you, but I'm going to let you go, man.
You're looking real cool, man.
Yeah, us mullet bros got to stick together.
Yeah.
They're sweet mullet.
If you just like hand me that wallet, we're all cool
I'll
here.
let you go, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, we're so bad at trying to act cool.
I'll see you at the monthly mullet meeting.
Yeah.
So when Dick goes off, he goes to like China to study with one master. He goes to South America and what happens? He goes to South America. So he shows up.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Close.
Oh, damn.
He's actually we see him like fighting these guys.
Capoeira?
Yes. It's
Capoeira.
Capoeira. Yes, we think he's fighting them, and he's actually part of like a capoeira show.
Yes.
So he's a performer again. But then he goes from there. So he's in like Brazil, and he heads off somewhere else. And he goes to this town where they're about to have like the Dias de los Muertos. So he gets like the skeleton mask and costume. He also discovers that Two-Face is down there selling like with a drug like thing going on. And so Dick is trying to track down like this invisible tribe, this famous tribe that can turn themselves invisible. And he comes across them out in the jungle, and they train him basically stealth skills that he then uses to like break up Two-Face's gang. And that tribe, they wear the eagle symbol. So his Nightwing symbol comes from them.
Okay.
And so he gets it as like a gold chain that he wears. And then he heads back out to Asia, and he's trying to find a tribe of monks who are supposed to be able to fly. And so he joins basically becomes like a Sherpa, to take these guys up into the mountains. And he quickly discovers that they're goons for Ra's al Ghul, and that they're trying to come across this like statue that's supposed to have the secret to flight or whatever. And he fights them and then gets buried in snow, and he gets rescued by one of these monks who wears go to the end, you can see it. He wears like an all blue, these monks wear this like all blue suit with a blue hood, and like their face is kind of blacked out. And so the monks give him, and the reason they can fly is that they have those glider wings inside the suit. And so the monks give him one of those suits so he can go back to Gotham and retrieve the the statue from Roz. And so when he does that, he puts on that suit, but he decides it needs something else.
Looks like Skeletor.
He does look like Skeletor, right? And then he puts on like the gold version of the Nightwing emblem. So that's actually like more or less the coloring of the original Nightwing suit. We get a brief glimpse of it in the comics. But so it sets up like where his suit came from, where his emblem came from, where he was off. So it's basically a whole story about him doing what Bruce did for years of like traveling around the world, kind of living off of whatever random jobs he came across to train himself, and this drive to train and learn and be better and better and better. And people kind of keep telling him like, you know, you've learned everything you can learn here. What are you gonna do next? Like, oh, I'm gonna learn something else. And you can really see those similarities between him and Bruce as he's going off and doing his own thing. And it's kind of like you get a bit more of that sense of if Dick hadn't gone and done this, he would never become like a fully realized version of himself.
Right.
He would always be in Bruce's shadow. But in the same way that Bruce had to go off and be alone and discover himself, Dick had to go do the same thing. And so it sets him up as like allowing him to become his own hero. And it's full of those cool little moments. It's a little absurd that he ends up in South America and Two-Face there. He ends up in Asia and Roz is there. But it just adds a little bit more like texture and context to the whole thing. It's pretty interesting.
That's
actually.
awesome.
Yeah, you should take it with you and not read it.
I mean, you just told me the whole story. I don't need to read it anymore.
But yeah, I think you probably, for the listeners, you probably track it down somewhere. I have a trade bound version that I bought, well, probably like 20 years ago now. But it's probably out there somewhere. But if you really like this story, just like the new Batman Adventures, and you want to know a little bit more about that space in between, it's worth picking up a copy. I'm sure DCU Watchtower, they probably have a version of it that they've used to like do timelines and stuff. But it's really good. It's worth a read. So yeah, go check that out at some point.
So I'm looking it up, see if it's still available to buy online.
Yeah, man, get a copy of it.
Oh, yeah, it's still on Amazon.
Oh, there we go. Anything else?
Oh, it's expensive on Amazon.
Yeah, how much is it?
It's like $50.
Take this back. Go put it in my comic vault. Should we move along?
I'm ready for plugs.
Ready for some plugs here?
Yeah.
Cameron, what have you been not reading but watching?
Oh man, I've been reading a ton this week.
Oh, have you
No,
now?
I've not. I did not think I was brave enough, but I finally conquered my fear as this helicopter passes by.
And you went for a helicopter ride.
Yep.
Over the city.
I did.
You watched a car chase unfold, and you waved to all the other news choppers up there.
Well, I tried to jump from one copter to another to get a better view.
Are you a ghost? Did you die?
I did.
Oh my god!
Yes.
I'm getting over my fear of ghosts. This is fantastic. Look at us growing.
Look at us
as people. I mean, not you anymore. You're dead.
Yeah.
But
what's Dead Man's real name?
Boston Brand.
Thank you. Like I knew it was something
Wow.
B, and I couldn't think of anything besides Baxter.
Hell of a poll.
Yeah, Boston Brand. Thank you. No, I went to go see A Quiet Place.
Was it good?
It was really good.
I want to see it.
It's very suspenseful. So I do this thing during suspenseful moments that I didn't realize I did until after the end of this movie, where like I'll cross my arms and like under my arm I'll grab my side, just like really like I'll grab like this like really tightly, just to like keep myself calm.
Did you bruise yourself?
I did.
Wow.
I was because the whole movie is suspenseful.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of the characters. It's not a spoiler for anything. The oldest daughter, I guess the only daughter, is deaf. And so the movie is really fascinating because it kind of flips the idea of fear and suspense away from how typical movies handle it, where in most movies you know a jump scare is coming because it's a silent moment.
Yeah.
But in this, it's like you just have the Foley for most of the movie.
Oh, shit.
And you just kind of hear the footsteps and kind of the rustling of the leaves. So you're like constantly in suspense.
Yeah.
But then when like the big things happen, you'll switch to the girl's perspective where it's just complete silence.
What? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and it's really cool. But I didn't realize like how tightly I was holding my side. So like when I walked out, I was like, I'm really hurt. And when I got back to my apartment, I looked, I'm like, I fucking bruised my side watching this movie.
Is this boxing? Like what? Oh no.
Yeah.
It was John Krasinski.
Yes. Who's great. Him and Emily Blunt are amazing in the movie.
Yeah.
The kids are amazing in it.
And I heard too that the daughter, that actress, is actually deaf.
That'd be awesome. I would love to believe. I would love
No,
to
it's
hear
true.
that.
Yeah. I I've heard it.
I don't believe you.
I've heard it, but it also
it's great.
happened.
It's a great idea, but I don't believe you.
Yeah, someone should do that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then the other movie I watched, if you need something lighter and not scary, even though it's not really scary, just suspenseful, is I watched the Andre the Giant documentary on HBO Go, and it's great. It's very sad because he like he had a great life and like everyone loved him. He was an international icon.
Yeah.
Which is kind of something you don't think about with wrestlers is like he wasn't just bound, especially in America, he was such a big name that he actually didn't wrestle that much. Like his name got so big because he was such an event person.
Okay.
So especially in the time where like wrestling was very regional, I don't know how much you know about the wrestling world.
Little to none.
Cool. I don't know much either, except what I learned from documentaries, because wrestling documentaries are fascinating.
Oh, I bet they would be.
So before Vince McMahon Jr. took over the company, who bought it out from his dad, and like a lot of the wrestlers hated him for it, every kind of region had their own wrestling circuit. So there was like the Northeast circuit, you had like the DC circuit, you had the South circuit, the Florida circuit, the Midwest, the middle of the world, the Chicago. Like there were like I think 10 circuits going on. And so you never really got to see the same fighters because it was always like the local hero was fighting someone else. So Andre the Giant was kind of the first one that like everyone in America knew his name. And he would just travel to the different to the different rings and just make an appearance. And it would just be an honor to see him.
That's cool though.
But he wasn't just just an American fighter, which kind of blew me away. He started off in France. He's a Frenchman. He also started wrestling when he was 15.
Wow.
Like that's all he did with his life was wrestle.
Yeah.
He started in France and was big in kind of the European circuit before coming to America. But he was also huge in Japan, which is I feel like it's kind of a pretty common thing nowadays, where like celebrities like big in America, but like they're huge in Japan.
Yeah.
So he did that a lot, and then it kind of got more depressing in his later years because like his gigantism did catch up with him, and like he had a ton of surgeries he was supposed to get, but like he didn't want to leave the wrestling world for that long. And so it got like towards the very end where he just couldn't wrestle anymore. And you hear these stories of like he'd step in the ring and he would have to hold on to the rope or to his opponent the whole time because he couldn't stand on his own.
So sad.
It really was. But it's a great documentary. He's such a fascinating man.
Yeah. Well, because it's not just sad because anyone going through that would obviously be so sad, but the fact that kind of what gave, in some weird way, gave him the opportunity to kind of live the life that he, I would think, on some level loved.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That then eventually, pulls him from it. I mean, that is like an inherently tragic.
Yeah, it's very Shakespearean.
Yeah, very Shakespearean. Very cinematic thing, and just like. The thing that gave him purpose and joy, to have that taken from him kind of before he's ready to go.
Yeah.
That's really, really sad.
And he also didn't end on a great note, which is also really sad because there was a great comment because they interview his driver / his bodyguard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Great. It was a fun story hearing like how they first met, and Andre literally threw him out of his dressing room.
Oh my god!
They interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger, and apparently they were getting dinner one night, and Schwarzenegger was like, "I'm gonna pay. Like this is my meal. I'm gonna pay." And Andre's like, "Sure." And he goes and he picks up Schwarzenegger like nothing, and like moves him to another table and takes the check and pays for it. I'm like, that's crazy.
That's insane.
He was. It was fun listening to Vince McMahon talk because like no one actually knew how tall Andre was.
Yeah,
they were joking like every time we would announce him, we would add another inch. But he was approximately 7'1" and 500 pounds.
Fuck.
Yeah, he's a tank.
Yeah. That's just so much mass to move.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, poor guy.
I know. But it was fun. The only weird part of the documentary is there's like a 5-minute stint where they're talking about how bad his farts were. Oh my god! It must have been bad because they have like the big names talk. Like Hulk Hogan is the main person talking about it, and he's like, you would see him, he would lift his leg, and the whole room would just clear because you knew what was coming.
Ate a lot of food, that guy.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously what a lot of people probably know about his non-wrestling life is he was a huge drinker.
Yeah.
And like the stories of how he would drink 100 beers in a night and still like not feel drunk.
Well, yeah, how could you?
They would say he would show up before a fight, because it was pretty common for everyone to drink after the fight, he would show up with 6 bottles of wine, because that was his drink of choice, was wine, because he's a Frenchman.
Makes sense.
He would show up with 6 bottles of wine in his dressing room and down one whole bottle before even getting in the ring. And it was just like nothing to him.
My God.
Yeah.
That does sound really fascinating.
He sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And it's kind of upsetting that like I never got to experience that.
How old was he when he died?
Early 40s.
Oh, man.
The point I wanted to make, which was the kind of the tragic side of it, was since he was this icon, he was always the hero.
Yeah.
Like he always won. He only lost one match, and it was to Hulk Hogan in WrestleMania 3.
Pass the torch. Huh?
Yeah, but because he had to play the heel, he had to play the villain in that match. Everyone kind of hated him after that, and like he left the wrestling world being the villain, and that like they said that is probably what tore him up the most. Is like he used to walk in, and that's a hard thing to get used to. Is like you walk in and everyone praises your name,
Yeah.
and then the second you do one bad thing, you walk in and everyone's throwing shit at you, and they're yelling at you, and they're cursing at you. And
it's even more insulting because he had to play the villain to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. But there was a quote that he had that was like, walking through the airport, he could hear people making these side comments about him. And like with other wrestlers, it's makeup, it's a costume.
Yeah.
They can go out in a trench coat and a hat and they can be normal, but like he can't not be 7'8" and 500 pounds.
Yeah.
So like he never got to escape the identity, and that was what was kind of like the most heartbreaking side of it.
That's so sad. Mm-hmm. What did he die of?
Heart attack.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot that.
Like a week after his dad died, which is even worse.
Ooh,
yeah.
God.
He flew home to France to see his dad was on his deathbed, and he flew home, and then like a week later, Andre died. Yeah.
Oh, bad timing.
Yeah.
Man.
So what have you been watching, listening, reading?
Well, so you and I together the other night watched Attack the Block, which none of us had seen. It is really good. It's very simple, but I mean, I can't imagine it was made for a lot of money, but it puts all of it on the screen. Honestly, I mean, this sounds like I'm, damning with faint praise, which is not. It's the first thing from it, but like John Boyega's best role.
Oh, yeah, he was so good in that.
I really like him in Force Awakens. I know you've seen Pacific Rim 2. I haven't.
It was fine.
Yeah, but I've heard he's good in it though. Despite that, he's very charming. Like he is very charming, but like my God, he is so good in that role, and especially starting out playing a villain basically, and he just carries the pain of who he is through that movie the entire time, so that like you really do start to feel for him and sympathize with him. And so it's one just really fun and very like inventive and just great. But I think for his performance alone, like I can now understand why he was such a big deal when that movie came out and why it was such a huge thing. 'Cause, like, he's incredible. Absolutely.
It's so good.
Absolutely incredible in that. So we watched that, and then I've also been reading.
What?
I know
words?
It's these things called books.
No.
It's so you know how like words can be printed. Like on a screen. Like see like this like a screen, but imagine instead of a screen, it's a piece of tree that's been shaved down until it's like paper thin. I know you don't know what paper is, but it's like super thin.
Yeah.
And then you just like put it on one side, and then on another side, and then you put them all.
Sci-fi
you
bullshit.
You
You're
stack them
spewing out
all
right
together, and then you read them sequentially. Like you look at the words, the letters, and you digest them sequentially. And you
eat
use
the pages.
You use your imagination. Yes, you eat the pages.
Okay.
Yeah. You look at them and you go, "This looks appetizing," and then you eat them.
Well, that's how you digest the information.
That's absolutely true.
You
slowly digest it over 1,000 years.
Yeah, well, the paper goes down and the words go up. That's how the digestion works.
Yeah, that's the only reason we can talk as humans. We eat words and then we just regurgitate them in different order.
I know. I mean, I tried to eat the dictionary, but I didn't make it past like
made it through like B.
abacus.
Well, too bad you never made it to calculator, otherwise you'd know how to do math.
Right.
But I've been reading this book. It's called Arlo Finch in the Valley of Fire. So it's I think the term is like middle grade fiction. So it's like 12-year-olds roughly. And it's written by John August, who is a screenwriter His first film was the movie Go, which I actually haven't seen, but I know Soderbergh. I think Soderbergh directed it. It's just really good. But he worked with Tim Burton a lot. So he wrote the screenplay for Big Fish. He wrote Frankenweenie. He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He was one of the writers on Charlie's Angels.
Ooh.
So he's a fantastic...
The movie or the series? Movie, probably.
The movie,
okay.
Yes. He's a really fantastic writer. He also does a podcast called Script Notes, which I listened to for years. I didn't have time to keep up with that one, but it's him and Craig Mazin. And every week they sit down and they talk about screenwriting, like the industry. Sometimes they'll do deep dives on movies, talk about why the scripts are so great. Like I listened to one all about the Addams Family, which I never watched. And so then I went and watched those two movies, which are actually really fun.
You've never seen the Addams Family movies?
I didn't see either one of them. I watched them for the first time like 6 months ago or so. And
what do you do during Halloween?
Live my normal life.
How dare you?
I'm not a big Halloween person. I mean, I love Halloween, but it's more about the dress up aspect.
Okay.
And the drinking, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's a fantastic writer. He does this podcast, and he took a year off from screenwriting to write this book. He moved his family out to France. He and his husband and their daughter went out there, and he wrote this. And I've been complaining about how much I hated A Wrinkle in Time because you read it and you're like, this doesn't sound like a kid. This sounds like an adult trying to write for a child.
Yeah.
And what I love about Arlo Finch is, it's very inventive in his language. Obviously he's incredible with words, but it's got a lot of like fun energy to it. But you read it and it reads like how a 12-year-old would think. There's a lot of those little moments where, like, at one point he's going camping and has to get up to go pee, and his jacket is buried down at the bottom, and so he creates this whole scenario in his head why it's okay for him to borrow his friend's like super nice jacket up at the top. It's the sort of thing that you would do as a kid. Like you like justify these things with like overthinking all of them.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And no, I've been enjoying it a lot. About maybe like a third of the way through.
Okay.
Roughly or so. But
that sounds cool.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's fantastic.
I'll listen to that someday.
Yeah, you listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if he did his own audiobook.
I can check.
I don't know. He's got a great voice too. He's
You start the outro now. I'll check.
He's very accomplished. Well, before we get to the outro, because this episode hasn't been long enough as it is.
Are we doing letters now?
I mean,
let's save it for next week.
Do we should save it for next week?
Let's save it for next week.
I guess we're at
even though Etrigan is next week, and I want to talk about Etrigan a lot.
Oh my god! Well, wait, hang on. What else is next week? Oh my god, we have a lot to talk about next week. It's Aquaman and Etrigan.
We'll find letters another time.
Okay, all right. But I do want to say that I've said this a lot, but I'm actually trying to get better about keeping track of people writing into us because we really do love that and responding. And so I have a whole list that I'm going to come back to next week to talk about. But do please write to us and just engage with us whichever way you feel like. Every small message we get is always really appreciated and a lot of fun. So to do so, we are at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Gmail. If you want to reach out to me personally, I am at Lordifer on Instagram and Twitter.
Yes. If you want to see my art, it's at Cameron.Dexter. If you want to see my face, it's at CamDexter_adventures. And if you want to see my merch, it's at Core Memories Co.
Yeah.
That's everything?
I think that's everything.
That's everything.
Yeah. So,
what else do I do? If you want to find the podcast, it's at Timm Talk. If you want to find my office, it's at Full Screen.
Yeah.
Just go through the whole list.
Where can you find me? Here's where I'm going to be tomorrow morning, Monday.
Mm-hmm. You can find me at Chipotle.
Yeah.
At boxing.
Yeah. You can find me at Crunch. It's a gym. I will be there really early tomorrow morning.
Great.
Desperately want to go to bed.
No, he did not narrate his audiobook.
Oh, okay. Who did?
Someone named James Patrick Cronin.
Don't know who that is.
No.
But anyways, thank you so much for listening to us. It's always appreciated.
Yes. If you made it this far, I applaud you.
We love you.
Yes.
If you made it this far, write us and tell us, and we'll talk about it next week on Letters.
Yes. Where do you think we went wrong as a society with dating Sims and harems? and let us know.
What do you think is our future dystopian sex lives that are going to happen?
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.